MetsMusings is an unofficial, independent podcast covering New York's National League Baseball team. It is not affiliated in any way with Major League Baseball or the New York Mets.
Now it's time for some New York Mets baseball talk. Here's Gary Mack bringing you the latest news and analysis from Mets Nation and the world of baseball on another edition of Mets Musings.
And hello and welcome to another edition of Mets Musings. Let's see, where am I? There I am. Oh, there I am. How is everybody going on? I hope you had a great week. We're coming right off of our big anniversary issue last week and got another terrific episode for you this week. Got a terrific guest for you, and I want to get to that right away. But first, just to let you know, there's not much going on in the world of baseball, of course. They are negotiating, and we sit and wait, but I know they want to try to play by July the 4th, so they've got to get guys into camp within the next week or two. So we'll see how that all plays out. But let's go right to my guest right now that I pre-recorded a little bit earlier. I am joined this week by a legend in New York baseball. He was the Mets media relations director or head for 38 years. He is now the vice president of alumni relations and the team historian. He has a great new book out called Mr. Met. He is Jay Horwitz. Jay, thanks so much. Welcome to Mets Music.
Pleasure to be with you, Gary. Pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Jay, how are you holding up in this no baseball atmosphere and pandemic?
It's crazy times, you know. I went through 9/11 and you thought that was crazy, but this is crazier. But you just got to hope, the people do the right thing and stay inside and, still social distances. You see there's still spikes coming up all over the country and, just got to hopefully do the right thing and, they can get baseball back on in some form this year, but it's got to be safe and stay healthy. That's the main thing, Gary.
Right. And your gut feeling, do you think we're going to have baseball this year?
I hope so. I'm not involved, really, but I hope so. I hopefully sides will see that they have to come to an agreement this year. I hope to God they do.
So, Jay, how does a sports nut mad kid from New Jersey become like a family to generations of big leaguers?
Well, I was give you a synopsis here. I was never much of an athlete, and I was such a bad player in Little League. The only way I used to hit the ball, I used to bunt all the time. And one time I swung away and I hit a ball center field. I tripped coming out of the batter's box, and the guy threw me out at first base. And in high school, I managed about 8 different teams. And graduation day in Clifton High School, I had more stripes on my sleeve than a starting quarterback. Basically, I wasn't an athlete, so I had to find other ways to get involved with sports. So I got into PR, was the editor of my high school yearbook. When I went to NYU, I was a manager of the basketball team. And then for 8 years, I was the sports information director at Fairleigh Dickinson. We got a little national attention for some of the athletes we had there. Again, we had a baseball player got hit by a pitch 128 times. We had a 43-year-old priest who played hockey, a 47-year-old freshman football player. We had an Arab and Israeli goalie on our soccer team. So fast forward to 1980 when the Mets were looking for a PR guy. Weren't a very good team at that time, so they were looking for kind of an offbeat PR person, not just with stats. And I got hired, and I've been there 40 years since.
And you had a reputation as looking for the offbeat story, if you will, and when you were at Fairleigh Dickinson and NYU, and Fairleigh Dickinson in the 70s, didn't they have they had a kid on their basketball team I can't think of his name. He was a white Jewish kid with a big afro.
Seth Greenberg. Seth Greenberg. Seth
Um,
Greenberg plays.
yeah, I
Was
think.
was it when Seth played? He went on to be a great college coach. Now he's a great commentator on ESPN. But he played. He was from Plainview, Long Island, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
And Seth was there. And probably my most famous athlete that I worked with at Fairleigh was a high jumper by the name of Franklin Jacobs, who set a world record. He jumped 2 feet over his head, and he won the Milrose game in the late, in I think 1976. Yeah, I mean, you're probably thinking of Seth. Seth is a great point guard on the Fairleigh Dickinson teams.
Well, I only remember because I went to St. Francis College in Pennsylvania, and we played Fairleigh Dickinson in the old ECAC holiday tournament in the Garden. I think it was 74 or 75, one of those. And
I don't remember us playing the Garden. I mean, we had no, I don't remember that, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't, but Al Balba was the coach when I was there, a good friend, and he was the coach. Al coached with Bobby Knight and Mike Krzyzewski up in Army, and he was at Fairleigh for, a couple of years in a row we had the top defensive team in the country. But,
yeah,
that was what. But the other guy, I thought you guys would think it was Seth Greenberg.
yeah. I was surprised to find out that you also was a sports writer for a while.
I wrote coming out of high school, out of college. I wrote for the Herald News, and I actually covered the Jets for a year after the Super Bowl year. And Weeb Eubank, God rest his soul, was so nice to me. Some of the players, John Schmidt and Pete Lamons and George Sauer were really nice to me. And I was a diehard Giant fan growing up, and I covered the first Giant Jets exhibition game at Yale Bowl, and the Jets won that game 37-0. So it's a really hard game for me to write. But the Jets, of the year that I covered them, they were really very, very nice to me. Nice group of guys.
And as you said in your synopsis, you went to the Mets in 1980, and but your Mets career didn't get off to a great start, did it?
No, I actually got lost on. Well, I'll backtrack just a little bit. I went for the interview. What really happened is that I had accepted a job to work as a staff guy for Tony Kubek and Joe Garagiola at NBC. And about a week before I was supposed to, it was probably a month before, I got a call from a friend, a guy named Jim Nagurney, who said he wanted me in an interview for the Mets job, PR job. So I thought it was a friend of mine, played a joke. I hung up the phone on him. A day too later, I found out it was true. I went down to St. Petersburg for an interview. The only problem was I went to the wrong hotel. I was late. By the time I got to the hotel I was supposed to be at, we owned Edgewater Beach Hotel. Frank Cashin, who was the GM of the Mets at the time, was sitting there at the table in his little white tennis shorts, and I was so nervous. I walked over and introduced myself and proceeded to knock over a whole container of orange juice on his lap.
Oh.
So that didn't go up to a good start, and then he asked me one question, and answered the second question. He said, "Well, that's all I need to know." And I remember going back to the airport that day in St. Petersburg. I called my mom and said, "Mom, there's no way I got this job, no way." But somehow I lasted 40+ years, and actually my first day to the job, and I come over from New Jersey to Shea. I was daydreaming and got lost and wound up in Brooklyn, and I was about 2 hours late for my first day on the job. It was April 1st, 1980, so it's kind of fitting that I started April Fool's Day. But somehow I survived, somehow.
Somehow, and had a very long career, and one of the first, you write in your book about one of the first person that you met was Howie Rose.
Yeah, Howie Rose, when he was working at WHN, we did say Howie's become a great friend, and he's been a great. But now I'm the I work with the alumni, and he knows more about Mets baseball than anybody. And Howie's been a big supporter of mine. We bring the alumni back to do different things, and Howie's just a great guy, a decent guy, and the players love talking to Howie because he would ask the tough questions, but not browbeat a guy. And I can never remember anybody running away from an interview with Howie Rose. And Howie to this day is a good friend.
Yeah, he's a terrific guy, and he's got a terrific book out as well.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying Howie's been a good friend.
Yeah.
And he and Gary Cohn are probably the two top historians of Mets history. They both, when they worked together for a little bit on the radio, it was really great listening to them because they knew everything about everybody, and there was no detail that slipped their minds.
I know. I've been a fan since '62, and I'm amazed. Even I thought I knew a lot, but
yeah, I don't know as much as they do. But one of the things about my new job, I've been able to, come in contact with the older players. Like, give you an example. About a month or two ago, I called. Hobie Landreth was actually the first Met taken in the expansion draft in 1961, and I called him about it just to say hello. And he told me I was the first person from the organization who calls him in 50 years. And that's one of the things we're trying to do is just reestablish our ties with the older guys, let them know basically we care. And it's really important to, like the last couple of years, we've been bringing guys like Cleon Jones, Ed Kranepool, who aren't supposed to spring training, putting them in uniform, having them sign autographs with the fans. And these guys make them feel like they belong, which is great. And I really get a lot of satisfaction in doing what we're doing now with the alumni.
I think it's a great idea because, like you said, even though the Mets are not an old franchise, there's still a lot of history there. Some of it's not so good.
No question.
And
you want to make the guys feel like they belong. Like guys like Cleon, who've done some big part of Met history, and Ed Kranepool, who's healthy now. Thank God he got his kidney transplant. And, fellow like Cleon Jones is doing great charity work, help restore his community in Mobile. It's been really great. And the guys are appreciative when they hear from us. And we just got to keep it going. We do like a little newsletter and the podcast. And, it's good to keep the ties open. Like I say, one of my philosophies, deal with players, I try to treat the 25th guy on the team like the number one guy. So when we call guys from the past, we're not looking just to quote superstars, the guys who are part of the Mets, and as long as they play for the Mets, we want to make them feel like they belong.
And it really is amazing the people you've met over these 38 years or 40 years now. Do you ever sit back and say, oh my God, how amazing has this been? I've met presidents and superstar ball players and mayors and governors, and it's just incredible the amount of people that you've met and known in your lifetime.
Yeah, it's been really great, and I can honestly say that I never met a player or a person from that who I didn't have a good relationship with. From my first manager, Joe Torre, in 1980, Joe really taught me what it was like to exist in a major league locker room. On our first road trip in Montreal, he brought me to a tie place on St. Catherine Street. He brought me 70 ugliest ties imaginable, but I still wear them since I have them tucked away. And definitely, Willie Randolph, and I just can't believe Willie still never got another chance to manage. And Bobby Valentine did so much great work with 9/11. And Terry Collins, a dear friend, who we still talk to a couple of times a month. So, and then for the guys like, Johnny Franco and, Al Leiter, David Wright, Robin Ventura, I've really been blessed to work with a great group of guys. And I've really been fortunate to really having any bad relationships. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to get along with everybody. And, a lot of these guys are dear friends who I worked with 40 years ago. I still speak with Dwight and Darryl on a regular basis, and I still speak with David Wright and the managers. So I've been very fortunate, as somebody who was never an athlete, and this was my vehicle to get into sports, and I've really been blessed to keep these relationships up the last couple of decades.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Dwight Gooden. How difficult was that to get through for you, because you were close to these guys. You write in your book how you live and die and breathe
right.
the Mets,
Right.
and how difficult when Dwight Gooden had his problems, and we all pray that he's finally
Right.
gotten well, and Strawberry as well, but he seemed to straighten out his life, thank God.
Yeah, the thing is, you feel for them as people. One thing about being close to these guys, you realize you're people. People have problems. People have problems, but my whole thing too is when a guy is down in the dumps, that's where he needs friendship. That's where he needs companionship and care and being around. And even when those guys had their tough times, I try to stay by him. And thank God, Darryl and his wife Tracy become ministers. They travel around the country talking about the evils of drugs, and Dwight is gotten himself straightened away. He does a lot of good charity work, like with a hospital in New Jersey, Hackensack Hospital. He teaches to high school kids, and basically a lot of your message is the same. Is really don't do what I did. Look at my mistakes and don't go down that path. Mm-hmm. And they're able to talk about what they did wrong, and they want to be a help to the young generation to try and prevent them from doing some of the things that they did. So, yeah, both have problems. You know what? They both got their life in order now. They're both doing great, and I'm proud to be their friends.
I always felt as a fan that that the Mets could have done maybe a little bit more with Dwight because he was so young. And maybe Davey Johnson could have took more of a role, but that's just an opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing which from my end, which I probably should have done better. When Darryl came up in '83 and Dwight came up in '84, we just said yes to too many interviews. Mm-hmm. At that time in '84 we were getting better, but in '83 we were a bad team. And, put a lot of pressure on these young kids coming to a major market. And looking back, if I had to do things over with, I would have been more protective of them media-wise and not opening them up to so many interviews. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying yes, 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 saying no, 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 and being more protective of them. That was just from my area. And you know what? They had their problems. They persevered. Right. And they got their life straightened away, and that's really the main thing right now.
Yeah, time to look ahead, not back.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You also write about your familiar attitude and your how nice the Wilpons have treated you throughout the years, as well as Doubleday when he was here.
Right.
Does it ever bother you when you see or read about the animosity that the fans may have for the Wilpons at all?
Yeah, it really bothers me a whole lot, and I'll tell you why. No one cares more about winning than Fred and Jeff Wilkin and Wilpon and Sal Katz, and I just wish they could see their reactions when they lose and when they're around the office. They're not happy when they're winning, and I can tell you personally that I had a young lady named Sharon Ford who worked with me for 22 years, and she unfortunately passed away from cancer in 2016. And Jeff did so much behind the scenes to make her last couple of years, palatable, and when I was hospitalized, he came to see me and make sure I had the proper care. And when Gary Carter was on his deathbed in 2012, he got a plane and flew us down to Florida to see him, and we saw Tom Seaver before. Unfortunately, he got sick. So Jeff has got a big heart. He does a lot of things. He cares about the organization, and I understand there's a passion in Mets fans. They want to win. They want to win, and so does the ownership. And Jeff does a lot of things privately to show his compassion for people that I wish more people would know about. And he does have a big heart. And look at me. I'm going to be 75 years old in August. I still have a great job, and I'm pretty fortunate. It shows about the Mets organization. I've been there for 40-plus years, and not many people who work for an organization for that long, no matter where it is. So, yeah, it really bothers me. I just wish more people could get to know the real Jeff Wilpon.
I think they're in a no-win situation anyway. I mean, I think it's just the way it is. People are gonna make their own minds up and think what they want to think, no matter what
Right.
the truth is.
Right.
So, you mentioned being there for 40 years, and how did you feel when they came to you and offered you this new position, which I think is a great idea, and I think it's just terrific. But what were your feelings at the time when they offered you that?
I honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, I wasn't crazy about it. Being really honest with you, part of the things I liked was the travel, going around the country, the back and forth with the press. I'm a people person, just to be the camaraderie in the locker room. But I said to myself, I said, you know what? I mean, there comes a time to do something different. You got to be ready for change, and I just felt it was a good time, and I knew a lot of these older guys, and we really hadn't done a lot. And I said, you know what? It's time to change your lifestyle. And honestly, I live in New Jersey. I travel 2 bridges to get to work every day, and maybe like lessen the load a little bit. So I don't have to be in every game. I don't have to get 3 hours of sleep every night and go back and forth. So it was a blessing, and I'm being honest. My first reaction, I didn't want to do it, but after thinking about it and speaking to Jeff, and I realized more benefits than the negatives, and I've gotten adjusted to my new lifestyle. I don't really like to keep a big presence on the field anymore because I'm not really involved with the current players, Mm-hmm. So I just try and keep my distance and do what I have to do. But my first reaction was I wasn't happy with it. But in time, I understood what Jeff was correct.
Mm-hmm. And you've seen so much. You've seen the 3 World Series, actually, in your career.
3 World Series, right. Remember that? Yeah. In 1986, I still remember Game 6, bottom of the 10th inning. I'm sitting here in Davey Johnson's office, me, Keith Hernandez, and Darryl Johnson, one of the coaches, the scouts at the time. I'm saying to myself, how are we going to explain to the press how a team that won 114 games couldn't win the World Series? And lo and behold, Gary gets a hit, Mitchell gets a hit, Ray Knight gets a hit, Mookie's at bat. We fall behind 3-0 the next day, and we win the World Series. It was really remarkable. We from one strike away to go to win the World Series, and it was and in 2000 when we lost to the Yankees. I mean, we lost 4 games. I think the total was 5 runs we lost, and then 15. A couple of things happened in the beginning of some of the games in Kansas City, and it wasn't to be. But I mean, it was. We had the All-Star game in 2013, which was a big thrill. So I've been fortunate to be around a lot of great events. But probably, if you ask me, number one thing I'm most proud of was what the organization did at 9/11. Mm-hmm. From the ownership on down to Bobby Valentine, to players like Johnny Franco, Robin Ventura, Al Leiter, Vance Wilson, Joe McEwing, Todd Zeal. We really made it. Mike Piazza, of course. We really made a difference in the community. We helped the city heal. Mm-hmm. we went down to ground zero a lot of times without any camera, without any media, and I think we really made a difference. And of course, Mike's homer was the keynote of that stretch. But we did so many other things like wearing the hats on the first responders, donating a day's salary to Rusty Saab's police charity. So that was really a lot of good memories from that. I was really proud to be associated with that group of guys.
And unfortunately, during your time with the Mets, we've lost a number of great players.
Right.
You mentioned Rusty, Gary Carter.
Gary Carter, 57, too young to die. Ed Charles passed away. Tug McGraw passed away. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Tom Seaver is sick right now. Buddy Howells is sick. Yeah. We lost Tommy Agee, a little too young in a heart attack. So it's that's what last year the 50th anniversary of the '69 team was a great thing, but it was kind of a little bit
sad
peppered by. Of course, Tom couldn't be there. Yeah. and Buddy wasn't 100%, and I'd say my first meeting with Tom Seaver, it was the spring of 1983 when he came back for the second time. I'm in the old Huggins Stango clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Tom's in the whirlpool. I had a suit. I was kind of nervous meeting him. So I walked over and said, Tom, I'm the new PR guy with the Mets. Glad to meet you. He says to me, come over here, son. I can't hear you. So he proceeded to take the hose from the whirlpool and pour it down my pants. As I'm speaking to Tom, I'm getting drenched. Don't bat an eye, and then walk away. Say, okay, Tom. And I walked away and changed my clothes. So that was my first meeting with Tom Seaver.
And you've been, I don't want to use the word picked on, but the players have had some fun with you over the years, but it's really out of love than anything else. Is that fair to say?
Go back to Johnny Franco. Johnny once told me, he said, Jay, if the guys don't like you, they won't screw with you.
Right.
So, and I could have written a whole book on the things that Johnny Franco did to me in fun and with love, putting white out on my glasses on the planes when I slept, cutting my ties on the plane when I slept. Probably the funny thing he ever did to me, we were in a hotel, the old Biltmore Hotel in L.A. Johnny had the idea. He got a horse head from the unscrewed a horse head from a horse in the lobby, went up to my room, got the keys to my room, put the horse head under the covers, put ketchup on my pillows, and shut the lights off in my room. And when I got into the room, I sort of had a heart attack. I said, there's a dead horse in my pillow. But Johnny was, I always follow his advice, if they don't screw around with you, they don't like you. So they must have liked me a little because they screwed around with me a lot.
And of course, the foreword to your book's written by Jacob deGrom, and he said you had a piece of advice for him, just to be honest with the press.
Yeah, Jacob and I, one of the things they wanted me to, Jacob is very kind to help do the forward. The publisher of the book wanted to let people know that I had a relationship with the younger guys on the team, and I worked with Jake for his first couple of years, his Cy Young, first Cy Young, his Rookie of the Year award. And Jacob and Stephen Matz, we had a kind of cool relationship back and forth. You got to understand, I'm a lot older than Jacob deGrom and Stephen Matz. So I would go to Jacob and say, Jacob, I need you to do this interview. And he would say, well, I'll do the interview, but you got to do this. We had a basket in the locker room. If you make 2 to 3 baskets, I'll do the interview. Of course, I never did. And then we would go outside, and he would say, I'll do the interview if you would hit Stephen Matz and me fungos for 20 minutes. So I did that. And all I try to do, just to let these guys know I was willing to be part of the fabric of the locker room. I could take a joke. And that's how I kind of established my relationship with the younger guys on the team. And, Jacob was kind enough to say some nice words about me.
Now, who was the toughest guy you ever had to work with as far as a player?
I can't say honestly, I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything. I don't really want to say there was, maybe everything wasn't 100%, but I just, there's no one I could say I didn't get along with. No one I could say I didn't get along with.
And who would you say was the easiest? Who was?
Well, there's a lot of 1 and 1A's.
Yeah.
Franco, Mookie Wilson, Gary Carter, Al Leiter, David Wright, Lee Mazzilli. It's hard. I'm impressed with the group and work with a really good bunch of guys, and I don't like to say who is my favorite guy. I had a lot of favorite guys, and I don't want to insult anybody, but there's a lot of good guys I'm lucky enough to work with, now, good managers.
The Mets Hall of Fame, it's been sporadic over the years. Can we look for something maybe a little bit more consistently from?
We were going to. I mean, except for the pandemic, we were going to induct Ron Darling, Alfonso, and John Matlack. We're going to be more proactive in retiring numbers. We were going to do that. We are going to do it. We now just got to get through this pandemic and see where we are with things. He definitely will be on the uptake. Jeff Wilpont's committed to that.
Yeah, because there's always seems to be such a gap, and I know a lot of the fans, they'll say to me,
No, it's not going to happen. We're
that's great.
We're going to make things different, I promise.
Yeah, they've really done it. You know, when Citi Field opened, there was a lot of criticism. Of course, you know that.
Right.
But they've really made. I feel over the years they made a great effort on Metsitizing, if that's a word, the ballpark and trying to bring back these guys. And I think it's good. It's good for the franchise. It's good for the history of the of.
That's why my
Mets
position. That's why
baseball.
Jeff wanted me to do what I'm doing. A lot of what you're saying,
Mhm.
because he knows I have a relationship with these guys, and I could be the vehicle to help bring more people back, and though we'd be more active with the Hall of Fame, and I promise you that it's going to happen.
Oh, that's terrific news, because I know people, been asking about that for the
Yeah.
longest
No,
time.
it's going to happen. I promise you that. We just got to get through this.
So are we going to have another book too after this? Or?
No. I'm good. Trust me, I'm good. I'm good with book one. I never thought I would do this, but book one is good. And my whole premise was I didn't want to hurt anybody. I wanted to do a feel good book, not a tell all book, and I just want to get this book out there and not make some people laugh and maybe cry a little bit with some parts of it, but I just want to hopefully Mets fans will identify with some of the stuff I've done and give some good feeling.
Well, it's a terrific book, and I think everybody should go out and buy it. Mr. Met, How a Sports Mad Kid from Jersey Became Like Family to Generations of Big Leaguers by Jay Horwitz. And Jay, I want to thank you for taking the time today.
No, I appreciate your time, and and hopefully get through this mess and people be safe, and we get a vaccine and get back to normal eventually.
And you can hit the trail and do some book signings, hopefully.
I'm not really worried about that. I just want people to be safe and get healthy. That's what I'm concerned about.
I agree. It was so nice talking to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, Jay. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Jay Horwitz, everybody. The author of a great new book, Mr. Meth, How a Sports Mad Kid from Jersey Became Like Family to Generations of Big Leaguers. And I'll be back right after this.
Looking for great Cardinals talk? Then check out Conversations with C70. My name's Daniel Shoptaw, and I talk with some of the great bloggers on the internet today about their teams. But it always comes back to the Cardinals. Find the latest episode on my website, www.cardinal70.com, or at baseballpodcast.net.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com, along with MetsMusings and other great baseball podcasts.
With all the Mets news, it is the news from around the world and around the corner. Here's Gary Mack.
Well, hope you enjoyed that interview with Jay Horwitz. He's been with the Mets a long time, seen a lot of things, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Those stories, there's a lot more in the book, so go pick up the book, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. I want to thank you. I want to thank Jay once again for coming on, and I want to thank you all for tuning in and listening. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button on Apple Play, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, whatever they're calling it now, iTunes. I don't even know any. Keep up with it all. YouTube, wherever you watch or listen to the podcast, it does help me grow the show and bring new listeners in. So hit that subscribe button. We would really appreciate it. And if you'd like to help out the show, you can by going to anchor.fm/MetsMusings. There's a support button right on that page you can hit. Or you can go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/MetsMusings. And I guess until next time, remember, keep the faith, stay optimistic, and and let's go Mets. Hopefully we'll have baseball soon. And no, we'll have to see. All right, I'll see you next time on another edition of Mets Musings.